Well, teachers are walking out again today, reluctantly. They don't want to be here, they'd much rather be in the classroom. But we haven't had any further negotiations with the Secretary of State since Easter. She put an offer on the table then that was resoundingly rejected by our members, but also the head teacher unions and other unions in education. The reason for that was because the head teachers were extremely concerned that offer wouldn't be fully funded, and schools were telling us that they would have to make cuts to subject provision and to teaching support assistance if that pay was going to be implemented. Now, we've had 40,000, 9% of the education profession leave teaching in the last academic year. The government hasn't hit its targets for new recruitment for ITT students, and if that continues, they are going to have a real problem from September of ensuring that there's a specialist, qualified teacher in every classroom for every child.
And on the issue of pay, I spoke to the Education Minister, Robert Halfon, in the last hour, and he told me that the government had to weigh up the full economic position the country was in. He said the deal that they are offering teachers was fair to the taxpayer as well as fair to teachers.
Well, they said that they would listen to and take on board the recommendation from the School Teacher Review Body that they claim the independent review body. Now, they've had that report for a number of weeks now and yet haven't published it. We're extremely concerned that that means that they aren't going to fully implement that independent report. And they absolutely do have to weigh up the consequences that if we continue to have the numbers of teachers leaving the profession because of poor pay, because of pay has not kept up with inflation or with other graduate professions, that the Education Secretary is going to have a problem of not having enough teachers to provide a world-class education that our children so much deserve. And parents will recognise this. They will see that their schools are unable to recruit teachers in a whole range of secondary subjects, and primary teachers, particularly in London where I am today, finding it extremely difficult to recruit teachers because of the cost of living in the centre of the city.
Some of the rail unions have said they're willing to strike for a decade. How long are teachers prepared to strike for?
Teachers don't want to strike, and striking for a decade for education professionals means that we're putting a generation of children at risk. Now, that's the reason our members have taken 7 or 8 days of action, because they want to support the education of this generation who have lived through austerity, who have lived through a national pandemic, who are in some of the largest class sizes in the world. The only countries that have larger class sizes than us are Mexico, Chile and Colombia. That's what our National Education Union members are striking for. They're striking for this generation because they want to make a difference to our society.
This is the last day of term for a number of schools, isn't it? Why did you pick today? There are some people that are saying that it will mean that pupils will miss out on some of the end-of-term activities that they might have enjoyed.
Well, there is no good day for a school teacher to strike. They don't want to make additional disruption to children's education, and we apologise for disruption that we may be causing to those activities. But we gave the legal notice, we gave as much notice as we could so that those events could be rearranged if possible. But the real disruption to children is if they come back to the classroom in September, and we have over 1 million children in classes over 30. We have a real danger of them not having an English teacher teaching them English. I know a year 7 who's coming to the end of her first year of secondary school who has had 24 temporary English teachers. Now, that has a huge impact on a child's life chances and their enjoyment for secondary school and a subject. That's what this disruption is about today, to try to end that for all students.
Well, Niamh Sweeney, Deputy General Secretary of the National Education Union, we appreciate your time this morning. Thanks very much indeed.